We've talked a lot on tonight's show about the strife surrounding the current Labour government, but it turns out you can take the politician out of the Labour Party drama, but you can't take the Labour Party drama out of the politician. Ever since it was announced that former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn and former Labour MP Zara Sultana were to co found a new left wing political party, they have been beset by infighting and factional warfare. Things reached a surreal nadir when a membership portal was launched without the full knowledge of half of those who were part of the founding of the party, only for the portal to be retracted and replaced with another. Despite the threat of legal action of the first portal launch, it appeared that things had been somewhat patched up between the two halves of the party, as both Sultana and Corbyn appeared at a campaign event together, with internal divisions seemingly water under the bridge. That was until this week, however, when a message was sent out by your party, which is the provisional name of the new political party, asking for those who signed up under the original portal to fill in a form to migrate their membership across to the new system. So broadly, it states that they're still members if they signed up on the previous portal, and to let them know so that they can be migrated across, because the membership data is being held by a different company, MOU Operations Limited, and they say they have no way to access those memberships. And they finish the statements very specifically saying that they should cancel direct debit if they have one to MOU operations. And they want to say sorry. We know the situation has caused significant uncertainty and stress. As an apology for the inconvenience, affected members will receive a 3 months free membership. Over the past month, we have done everything possible to secure the transfer of your membership data. Zara, Jeremy, Shokat, Adnan, Ayub, and Iqbal have all made written requests to MOU for the transfer to happen, but illegal issues around ownership of the data, which are beyond your party's control, have so far proved intractable. That's why, with time passing, we're taking this step. Those names there are of the independent MPs who were part of the launch of the independent alliance that became your party as it stands today. This was followed by briefings on Tuesday reported by The Guardian that the Your Party founders were considering launching legal action against MOU Operations Limited, a legal entity set up to handle the party's assets to recover around £800,000 in donations currently held by the company. MOU was run by North of Tyne Mayor Jamie Driscoll, former Labour MP Beth Winter, and Andrew Feinstein, the anti-apartheid activist who ran against Keir Starmer at the last general election. They were in charge when MOU launched the initial membership portal. Last night, the three put out a joint public statement around the issues of the transferal of member data from the initial system to the new unitary system, under a company known under the party's current working title, Your Party Limited. And I'll be reading the statement in full. We would like to announce our resignations as directors of MOU Operations Limited. We set up MOU on the April 2nd, 2025 to support the creation of an alliance of progressive community independence, with Jeremy Corbyn playing a central role in its formation. Since that time, the nature of the project has changed significantly, as have the people involved. We are not founders of your party. We've had no part in any decisions concerning your party since before its creation was announced in July. We set up no portals, donations pages, membership systems, or anything else. We have not been involved in any of the founding processes in any way. The role of holding donations was thrust upon us. The company we are responsible for has repeatedly been used without our agreement. From the day of the launch, we have raised concerns about the lack of agreement and appropriate governance. We asked the Your Party leadership to meet with us to resolve it. We have wanted to hand over everything from the beginning. Only one of their directors agreed. After the confusing launch of the two membership systems on the 18th and 24th of September, neither of which we had any part in, we faced the added complication of MOU holding data and membership records. We urgently took legal advice, and on the 29th of September, we wrote to the Your Party leadership asking them to take complete ownership and central control of MOU. This would have handed over all the data, money, and everything else to your party. 5 of the 6 MPs declined. Your party demanded control of MOU's assets without accepting the control of MOU itself. This would have left us to deal with the liabilities and costs from the confused membership launches. We cannot accept personal liability for actions that were taken without our knowledge or approval, nor could we agree to a proposed resolution that put MOU at risk of having liabilities exceeding its assets. We explained in detail why these proposals were not tenable. We were told that refusal will result in public condemnation. We have tried many times to hand over everything to your party, lock, stock, and barrel. You simply cannot hand over data without following GDPR regulations. Not everyone understands company law or GDPR. In simple terms, we offered to hand over ownership to your party and make the 6 your party MPs directors in our place, giving them full control. Only one of the 6 was willing to agree. We have been extraordinarily patient and tried to resolve this quietly behind the scenes. Your party have claimed in emails and social media statements that we delayed the data transfer. We repeatedly asked them to stop making factually incorrect claims of this nature. They gave hostile briefings to journalists. We have behaved with integrity. Zara Sultana has agreed to become the sole member and director of MOU with a commitment to use the resources for your party as was always intended. We will resign immediately once the legal formalities have been completed. We will have no further involvement with MOU. We want nothing for ourselves. We have taken no money or no benefit in kind. It all seems very difficult to know who to believe given the conflicting information. But today, the Canary website revealed internal emails that appeared to back up the version of events offered up by the MOU directors. The emails seemed to show that your party had not been actively engaging with the legal and practical requirements to facilitate the handover of the information, despite being contacted by MOU directors to try and ensure that those requirements were followed. One thing is for certain: this is one almighty mess. Dahlia, what do you think the future is for your party?
I just, honestly, I don't know if I even care at this point. I mean, this is, it's, look, I'm not like partial to any faction within this. I don't have any information more than what we see in the public. I will say that I am more inclined to trust the version of events that come from like directly from the horse's mouth, a kind of a detailed statement outlining everything that has taken place, where people sign it with their names. I'm more inclined to trust that than I am to trust, anonymous briefings to the press. I think that, like, if you anonymously brief against people who are meant to be in your movement to the right wing press, I think it's unforgivable behavior. But I don't have like a necessarily a pull towards one side or the other. Um, but as far as I'm concerned, I think that this is becoming a sinkhole of hope, and just like it's becoming a place where when I look at what's happening, what's the latest with your party, it's like I'm drained rather than emboldened and empowered. And that is not what a political project should be doing. And so, as far as I'm concerned, I am like, look, you guys figure this out, build it, and see if we come. But for now, I don't think that anyone should be wasting any time when it comes to taking action, whether it's getting involved in these local independent community initiatives, getting involved in the Green Party, whatever makes sense for where you are. There are some parts of the country where it's very unlikely that the Greens would win or do well. And so maybe something different. There needs to be a different strategy, maybe, running independent councillors, running independent MPs. If you are in a place where there could potentially be a green base, go for that. And let's see what your party do with, their conference and everything. But at the moment, anything that is draining you of the hope or making you feel like it's not possible, because it's so messy, is counterproductive at this point. Because what I will say is that things look very dire in this country at the moment. We are looking down the barrel of a reform majority. The polls are looking scary. But one thing that we have that, people in the US didn't have, for example, or people in the Netherlands, as we spoke about earlier today, didn't have in 2023, is foresight and luxury of time. We have the luxury of foresight. We have time. We have 3 years before there's going to be a general election in this country. A lot can happen in 3 years. And so we actually do have the time to turn this thing around. And we should not be spending time trying to hash out conflicts between people who are putting up lawsuits and briefing the press and getting bogged in the weeds of of bureaucracy, rather than saying, what's our vision to the people. Because what I will say is that, for those of us who watch Novara, those of us who kind of follow these things very keenly, we're getting embroiled in the details and trying to think, who do we trust, what's going on, da da da. For the vast majority of people who would be inclined to vote for a left alternative to reform, they're just getting the headlines of this. And the headlines of this is two things. One, fighting chaos, disunity. And the second thing is they messed up with people's money. And one thing about the British people is they don't forgive you when you mess up their money, when people sign up for a direct debit and then there's confusion about where that money is going. I don't think people ever forget that. And so there's going to be a lot of work. And look, anything is possible. It is possible that this time next year, your party will have gotten it together. They will have a great program. They will have a great community organizing strategy, and they will be able to go for the seats that the Green Party can't win in or are unlikely to win in. And then there can be a kind of strategic electoral coalition where, the Greens stand down in certain seats, your party stands down in certain seats. Great. I will be so behind that and I will eat my words. But at the moment, we can't keep being drawn back into these conflicts between individuals and people that, most of us have never met. We need to do whatever it is that makes sense in our local area to build an anti fascist coalition against reform in 2029. We've got the time to do it. The people in the US who are currently having people of color being randomly abducted in the street by ICE, they don't have that luxury. We do, and we should make use of it.
Yep, I think you're absolutely on the money there. I would say I think that one thing again, full disclosure, I probably have to say this every show now because I am a Green Party member, very actively involved. So I want to make that very clear when I say this. But one thing that I have really enjoyed as being a member of the Green Party personally is that it doesn't feel like there's any infighting, which is, as someone who is at least tangentially related to Labour politics through being in an affiliated trade union, has been one of the things that I've been the most tedious. And so seeing that kind of infighting reflected in the kind of the founding nature of your party, I think it's very, very disheartening. More voices that are adding to the chorus of those that opposes what Labour are doing in aping the politics of the right is more than welcome. But in terms of like an electoral vehicle, these kind of problems, as you say, need to be hashed out. They need to be in the rear view mirror. They need to be squashed down so that we can unite, not around personalities or around individuals, or even necessarily around a specific political party or vehicle, but a project, a broader coalition, a broader mass movement of people to oppose what we're seeing in the mainstream of politics as it veers off to the right and seemingly uncontrollably. And that will involve discipline. It will involve people who put politics and indeed put ideology above people. And that's the thing I think that your party need to get over, because fundamentally these are people whose politics I absolutely agree with on 95% of issues. And so having them in the tent rather than outside the tent is more than welcome. But when we've got these kind of clashes of personalities happening, it really undermines the strength of that coalition. I just hope that they can pull it together so we can have as many people as possible as part of that mass movement.